draws the foul in the midfield. '21-year-old Colin Fernandez turned 21 just about a week and a half ago. Actually, same birthday as Joe Farrell, February 13th. Former Chicago Fire homegrown Colin Fernandez signed in the offseason to Phoenix Rising. Just about a minute left for Phoenix Rising. They're looking for their first win the preseason. They're 0-4 so far. They've had probably the most difficult preseason of any USL team. 5 matches against MLS opponents, including today against New York, though obviously this is more of a USL side. It's essentially Red Bulls 2. They lost to the Red Bulls, what was their first team in the first match of the preseason for Phoenix on February 10th. Then to Colorado Sporting KC and Houston. But 30 seconds away from their first win of the 2018 preseason. Still maybe some time for the Red Bulls. One more push forward. Hickok, the keeper, will step forward to take this free kick. He has not had a lot to do other than defending the Drogba penalty kick that he was unable to keep out. Here we go for New York. The drive from Aguinaga is blocked and then sent clear. They're going to have to go quick. We go past 93. Into space, Jones trying to run onto it. Dia there as well. Dia defending. Jones keeps it in play. Here's Duncan. Oh, nice footwork from the 20-year-old Duncan, but the cross was not there. And that is it. Phoenix Rising FC spoiling the preseason debut of Kaku as Didier Drogba gets the game winner from the penalty spot. The first win of the preseason for Phoenix Rising, 2-1 over the Red Bulls. Battle there. It was a feisty match between these teams. This was the red card to Luigi Mala in this early in this second half. Then a penalty kick as it was ruled to be a handball in the box against New York. And I still haven't seen a definitive replay on that, but Didier Drogba finishing the PK. Great chance from Brian White. Carl Wasinski making the save. It was 2-0 at this point. Wasinski again making the save. Here was the goal from the Red Bulls. Moreno over the top. White getting behind, finishes well over Wasinski. The Red Bulls pressured and pressured, controlled really the last half hour of this match possession-wise, but unable to find an equalizer, and the match ended 2-1. Again, we saw the preseason debut of Kaku. Something for New York Red Bull supporters to be excited for in the 2018 season. But we saw Didier Drogba's Phoenix Rising get a 2-1 win. Phoenix Rising now heads to Ecuador for a week there in the preseason. Their opener in USL play March 17th at Orange County. The New York Red Bulls, this group of New York Red Bulls, go back to the East Coast. This is going to be the Red Bulls 2 side. They will play on March 17th, their USL opener against Toronto FC. Of course, the Red Bulls first team on Thursday, March 1st. Huge second leg of the CCL round of 16 hosting Olympia. 1-1 right now at halftime, so to speak, of that 2-game aggregate series. Red Bulls have the advantage because of their away goal. They play at 8 Eastern at Red Bull Arena on March 1st. Then open the MLS season on March 10th at home against the Portland Timbers. For everybody here in Tucson, I'm Jake Sivan. Thanks so much for joining us for this one. Still 2 more games to come in the Mobile Mini Sun Cup on this Saturday in Arizona. Good afternoon from Tucson. Welcome to Tucson, Arizona. Good afternoon. The final day of the Mobile Mini Sun Cup 2018 rolls on here in Tucson. Just one game after the next. The Red Bulls and Phoenix Rising just wrapped up less than 10 minutes ago. And now the Portland Timbers and Sporting Kansas City almost underway. Now we are with Diego Valeri taking the first kick. I'm Jake Zivin alongside Ross Smith here at Keno North Stadium. We're going to call the first half. Then in the second half, the Sporting Kansas City guys, Nate Bukaty, Matt Lawrence, Carter Augustine, will come on for what will be a split broadcast. It's our final preparation for the 2018 season, just like it is for these two clubs, two Western Conference foes that know each other well, the Portland Timbers and Sporting Kansas City. We've seen lots of different players from both sides in this preseason. Today, expect this to be as close to a dress rehearsal as you can get, both for Peter Vermes and Sporting Kansas City and Giovanni Savarese and the Portland Timbers. Christian Labato, the left back, playing it towards Kyrie Shelton, the number 9. Those two positions that interesting choices I think we've seen in this preseason from Peter Vermes. It appears that it's going to be Kyrie Shelton as his top choice striker, Labato at left back. For the Timbers, a starting 11 that pretty much mirrors what we'd expect given what we've seen this preseason. Andy Polo, however, getting his first start with the starting group. Outside on the wing, opposite of Sebastian Blanco.
Well, it's a big day for Polo, big day for many players on this pitch. As you said, it's the final tune-up, final dress rehearsal before next week. With Sporting Kansas City playing New York City FC in their first match of the season. Timbers, LA Galaxy. So, places perhaps still up for grabs if you look on both sides, but for the Timbers specifically, there'll be guys on the pitch today thinking, I've got to make sure that I'm at the front of the manager's mind when it comes time to putting down an 11 next week.
Big ball forward, Ilie looking for Johnny Russell. Polo going back to Jake Gleason. Here are the starting lineups for both teams. Jake Gleason's in goal for the Timbers. Vitas is the left back, Liam Ridgewell, Larry Smabiala, the center back, Salvas Powell, the right back. Lawrence Olam, David Guzman hold. Sebastian Blanco on the left, Andy Polo on the right, Diego Valeri in the middle, and Fernando Adi up top in a 4-2-3-1 for the Portland Timbers and their first-year head coach, Giovanni Savarese. For Sporting Kansas City, again, what looks like a first-choice lineup from Peter Vermes. Tim Melia, the goalkeeper. Christian Labato, the left back. Matt Beasler, Iko Parra in the middle. Graham Zuzi on the right. We'll continue this in a moment as Johan Crozet coming forward. Vitas breaking it up momentarily. Now Graham Zuzi with his left foot, and he curls it just around the post and wide. Quickly finishing their starting 11, Felipe, Ilie Sanchez, Roger Espinosa, Felipe Gutierrez, that is the 3 in the midfield. Johnny Russell on the left, Johan Crozet on the right, Kyrie Shelton up top at the number 9.
And those names, they'll fall into a 4-3-3 system, which is we've become used to with Peter Vermes and his side, the formation, the style of Sporting Kansas City. What's interesting to me, though, when you look at that compared to the Timbers 4-2-3-1, is the 3 players in the middle for both teams. And who is able to demand the ball and keep the ball and dictate the pace of this game. Both teams will want to get on it. They want to possess. Of course, they want to possess it in the right areas of the pitch as well. So it's going to be interesting as we see the Timbers pressing, looking to win it back, how both teams handle the ball. And when you talk about possession for Kansas City, you have to look at the number 6, Ilie Sanchez. Goes by Ilie. He is a terrific player. For me, this is one of the top guys in MLS for looking after the ball, for possessing it, keeping your team in a rhythm. You talk about pictures. Always feels like this guy who's just passed the ball on there. He's always got 3 or 4 pictures in his mind, and he always seems to make the right decision.
Came into the league last year, product of FC Barcelona's system. Played his entire previous career before MLS in Spain and in Germany. Made a big impact, of course, for Sporting Kansas City last year. Played in every minute except for 1 match on all competitions in their U.S. Open Cup run, where they, of course, won the 2017 Open Cup and MLS. It's a giveaway, and it's Shelton one-on-one with Ridgewell. He leaves for Crozet. Crozet in the box. Vitas got back to defend. Now Zuzi. Espinosa, the drive. Gleason, the save. Shelton trying to get back on it. Vitas wins it. The first big moment of the match, and it's Jake Gleason coming up with the save.
Big save. Absolutely massive, this save, Gleason. because Espinoza, he just gets all the way through this ball with his laces, and that is going for the far corner. For Gleason to get all the way down as well and to get a strong end to keep that out, spectacular.
Big day for Jake Gleason. Jeff Adenella has been dealing with a little bit of an injury, and we haven't seen him the past week here in Tucson.
Pace of this game, by the way, absolutely frightening. That chance for Sporting Kansas City came about because of David Guzman. I talk about Elias Sanchez on the ball, how good he is. You need somebody in the middle of the park for the Timbers to be good, to be brave, and to look after the ball.
Blanco, big switch into space for Andy Polo, the speedy winger. Leaves for Powell. Powell took a heavy touch, and Lobato is able to win it for Kansas City.
I say that Beasler is a bit fortunate that Powell's taking a big touch because he's gone to ground so quickly and so early. Strange from the center back, who is a stable feature for Peter Vermees in that team. You don't see him too often making too many errors.
He's the captain, of course. Matt Beasler, now into his 10th season, Sporting Kansas City, 5-time All-Star, 2-time Best 11. Of course, a mainstay over the past 5 years, maybe more, with the U.S. national team.
So it's going to be a big day for Sebastian Blanco already. Graham Zusi twice getting up into the front half and affecting the game in the final third. You're going to have to watch Blanco to see how much does he track the right back for Kansas City.
And not many right backs in the league that have started in attacking positions in a World Cup. Of course, Zusi making the move to right back last year. And he figures to, once again this year, be the mainstay in that position for Sporting Kansas City. Here's Andy Polo. Down the line for Valeri and a little too far.
Just a worrying moment off your screen. Kyrie Shelton, he's gone down. Didn't look to be much contact or anything. He's just immediately gone to ground and obviously needs the attention of the athletic trainer coming on.
Well, Shelton came to this club in an off-season trade with NYCFC. Played his last 3 seasons in New York City. And here's a look at Gleason's save from earlier. Espinoza, first test of the match for either team's keeper.
We can just see he needs his entire frame, Gleason does. The outstretched arm, and it's a strong left hand by Gleason because that ball hit from Espinoza. It's finding the corner. Don't see this very often, the manager coming on the pitch with preseason. I think the rules can be bent a little bit. I just wonder whether he's saying to Shelton, you got to be honest with me, you got to tell me, because if you're not right, you have to come off.
Does he have his athletic training certification, Peter Vermees, coming out to check on Kyrie Shelton?
I think that man has every certification. He can pretty much do what he likes.
Well, that's a big decision for Peter Vermees, who to start up at the number 9. It was, of course, Dom Dwyer's spot for years. They traded him last year, and at the time was the most lucrative deal in MLS history. Dwyer now in Orlando City. Nobody really able to win that job, to take that job in the second half of last season for Kansas City. And this preseason, it's looked like it's been Shelton. He's been the guy that Vermees has liked up there at the number 9.
Well, Diego Rubio, he would have thought that was his door opening when Dwyer went off to Orlando City. Scored 6 goals last year, Rubio. 4 of them was after Dwyer left.
Here's Diego Valeri for the Timbers. Fernando Adi. Blanco. Beasler steps up to get it clear.
That's good for Mabiala. You need that. A center back who's willing to step in, and then your other center back partner, it was Ridgewell we see there, is just sweeping things up.
Lawrence Olam, former Sporting Kansas City player, was acquired in a trade last season in the preseason here in Tucson. Basically just switched team hotels and switched practice fields in the middle of the preseason when he was traded for a first-round pick from Kansas City to Portland. Amelia slips as he sends it towards midfield. Shelton has sat back down on the turf, so that may be our answer of whether or not he'll be able to continue. He looks to be a bit uncomfortable, and I think Diego Rubio is going to come into this match, and for a guy 24 years old coming to a new team, seems like he's taken that starting role You know he wants to be able to continue here, their final preseason match before the regular season opener. He doesn't want to have to come out early in this match.
That's just it. If you're battling for position, you want to do whatever you can to stay on the pitch. But at some point, it comes to realization, if you're not able to do it health-wise, if you're going to make matters worse, you have to come off the pitch. Hopefully for Shelton, that it's just something that needs a couple of days, a little tweak here or there, that he'd be fit for selection next week.
So it'll be Diego Rubio coming on for Kyrie Shelton, an 11th minute change for Peter Vermees. Rubio tore his ACL at the end of the 2016 season in October. And it's a giveaway from Guzman. We'll continue that in a moment as it almost made its way to Rubio, but Mabiala is able to get it away. Johan Kreze, new signing, designated player. Playing on that right wing.
Kwase, he's looked bright early on. His last match against New England Revolution, I didn't think he really affected the game. Just wondering, obviously, a big signing, how long it takes guys from other leagues, new to the team, fresh face, to get themselves inserted and up to speed with the team. And that's something Peter Vermees, he prides himself on.
He springs Rubio through. Mabiala is over to defend. Espinosa. Back to Rubio. Gutierrez. Gleason again has to go to his left to make a save. That was the other big designated player acquisition in the offseason from Sporting Kansas City. Felipe Gutierrez, the Chilean.
We just see that strike. Easy enough for Gleason if you base it off the last strike that he had to deal with from Espinosa. But those big signings, Kwase and Felipe Gutierrez, we talked about. I chatted with assistant Kerry Zavagnin before the match, and he talked about these new signings. If you go through him, Kwase, he thought this is a guy who can play internally inside the pitch and outside as well. He likes to get down the throat of the back line, but he's a guy that is going to need to be integrated into this system. Made it feel as though it might take a little bit of time. With Felipe, this guy who's on the ball just now, been around, played in World Cup, knows what it's about. He's added stability, is what Zavagnin said. This guy has come into the team and already he just feels right a part of things. Yeah. If I just quickly, Russell as well, look for him on the left-hand side. This is another big signing for Sporting Kansas City. To the left side of your screen right now, he's come across from Derby County. Yeah. Big signing.
Number 7 is Russell. The set piece going for goal, and Gleason having to sprawl to his left. Unable to get to it, but it was wide of the net. It was Gutierrez. Quite a resume, Felipe Gutierrez. That is Johnny Russell, who Ross was talking about. Scottish international, 4 caps with Scotland. His entire previous career in England and Scotland.
Well, it has to be said, Jake, to jump in, played for Forth Athletic. Forth Athletic, a club I played for at my youth. And fondly enough, proudly enough, my grandfather was chairman in the late 70s into the early 80s. So you can say Sporting Kansas City with a guy coming from Forth Athletic who played there. They're in good hands.
Proud tradition now over here in the States. Here's Valeri to the back post. Didn't make its way to Ani. It was the 2017 MLS Defender of the Year, Iko Para, getting his head to it. Blanco battling with Croze. Blanco into a dangerous spot. Couldn't get it to Adi. Ridgewell steps up and Gutierrez takes it off him. Now out wide to Rubio. Espinosa making a big run. Rubio goes back to Gutierrez. Now they try to find Russell on the left. Here's Lobato. Espinosa, Guzman battling. Hands high from both.
Little bite from both as well.
Snuck through for Rubio. Ridgewell tracking back, slides and gets it away. I've seen a couple kind of tests for Liam Ridgewell in this preseason speed-wise, and he's shown that he's still got it. He's still up to it at 33 years old.
Well, early in the preseason against Seattle Sounders, Jordan Morse going through, and Jordan Morse, condolences to him having torn his ACL to the report today coming out with his ACL being torn, but him, bags of pace going in behind, and Ridgewell was no slouch. And there you see it again. I think that's a product of the preseason. The intensity on the training ground that we've been seeing under new coach Giovanni Savarese is that these guys, while they've been leggy at times, I spoke to Coach Gio before the match today, and he said, I think you're going to see a bit more freshness of these guys because he's toned things down the last couple of days, and you can see that from Ridgewell on the turn, 5 yards away. He's got to make the challenge, and he gets there.
Now, they've gone hard this preseason. Double days pretty much for the first 3 weeks. And even then, even when they started only going to single days, a lot of long training sessions and a lot of games as well. Reserve matches for guys that weren't playing in. If the first team went 65 minutes in a preseason match, second group got 25, then they'd have a reserve match the next morning for that second group to get 30, 40, maybe 60 more minutes. But now it's dress rehearsal time, as after today it'll be the first game week of 2018 for both these teams. A week from tomorrow, the season openers for both the Portland Timbers and Sporting Kansas City. Both squads getting national television spotlights week 1. Kansas City hosting New York City FC. Timbers playing at the LA Galaxy. Valeri getting it over to Alvis Powell. Powell cuts inside around Lobato. Powell on his left, right into Tim Melia.
Well, he's had a good preseason, Powell. More and more getting into the attack. He deals with his defensive responsibilities very well. But he just couldn't get the ball out of his feet. Does well, and it's way too easy, would say, Lobato on his side of it. That's way too easy for the left back to allow Powell to get in. But he just gets it caught underneath his feet. Can't get the strike away with any sort of power. It'll be interesting. You talk about battles for position. We mentioned Shelton at the number 9 for Kansas City. That left back position, Seth Sinovic, who had a great year last year, I thought, for Sporting Kansas City, now perhaps competing with Lobato for that left back position.
Just like with Graham Zusi, Lobato pretty much a converted attacker. Only 10 games last year. But they like him now at left back. Zusi, nice ball to Crozet. Crozet touch around Ridgewell, looking for Rubio. Mabiala gets it clear.
I tell you, Mabiala has had some games so far this match, and Julio Cascante, who I think has been a nice addition to the Timbers, player from Saprissa who's come in, shown well preseason. Players will be feeling those guys on the bench today, breathing down their necks, knowing that they have to have a good match today, but Mabiala does well. Equally, Crozet, nice little injection of speed. He shows that even though he's playing what you would call an inverted winger, left footer on the right side of the pitch, he can cut in, he can come inside, he can go outside.
Blanco wide to Valeri, who's drifted out right. Valeri wins the first corner kick of the match for the Portland Timbers.
Some speed to the game. You can see the juices are back from the Timbers standpoint, and Sporting Kansas City, the strength in their squad. Last match against New England Revolution, it was, you would say that they're B squads, but then the final 30 minutes, quote unquote, A squad came on, and it was an entirely different game.
Guzman takes the corner to Alvis Powell. Powell, touch around Beasler, and then chipping it to the back post. Nobody there. It's a goal kick.
He was in two minds, Powell.
Rubio poked away. Valeri over to Adi. Adi trying to get it back to Valeri. Intercepted by Beasler.
They're out of balance for the moment because both Blanco and Valeri are central to the pitch. So just see how the Timbers shift across, because Lawrence Olamy won't want to go too far out. So you're just getting the balance now right as Blanco returns to the left side of the midfield. Just thinking today, Jake, coming in against Sporting Kansas City, you need a runner who's going to be willing to go in behind. Now we're seeing that with Vitas. Couldn't quite get there, but more and more you're going to see Beasler and Opara look to squeeze the pitch. If they feel that there's going to be no runners from the Timbers coming past them, they'll feel that they could sneak, that they could gain an extra yard when the Timbers are in possession. You need another runner coming through, whether that's Andy Polo coming from a wide area and coming centrally, or whether it's somebody from the midfield breaking that line, but you need to keep them honest and push that back line for Sporting Kansas City.
Elvis Powell tracking back. And Gleason sends it forward. Ike Opara, what a year he had last year. The whole back line of Sporting Kansas City, the only team in MLS to average fewer than 1 goal against per match. Just 29 goals allowed. Opara, the defender of the year. Tim Melia, the goalkeeper of the year. And the defense is back. Labato now at left back, it appears, but Zusi, Opara, Beasler, Ilie there in the midfield.
The referee just trying to calm down Andy Polo with the challenges. But you talk about that defensive sturdiness of the team, and he mentioned that stat, 29 goals. Absolutely terrific when you think the next in line was Toronto FC at 37 goals allowed. It's quite a big gap. A big reason, you think of the consistency. You think of those senior figures in that back line, and Tim Melia having an outstanding season himself.
Soren Stoica telling Andy Polo to stay away. He finally does. Ball back into play. Rubio chasing it down. And Mabiala fouls Diego Rubio. Set piece coming now for Sporting Kansas City.
It's a tough thing for Mabiala. When you're having such a good game and you're winning everything, you feel as though everything's there for you to go and win it. That one, you just need to stand up. You need to be patient. Just clutters through the back of Rubio.
Felipe Gutierrez will take the set piece. Drives it in. It's Adi defensively getting it clear. Polo back to Blanco. Valeri touch towards Adi. It was behind him, and Ilie won it for Sporting Kansas City.
Just weren't on the same page. Adi was looking to run beyond. That's good from Olam. It's good stuff until final pass there, but I'm just looking closest to us, Jake, and I'm thinking, need to see more of Polo. Need to see him getting on the ball. You need to see him having a go at Lobato. You saw what Powell did to the left back of Sporting Kansas City, and so other players on that side of the pitch, and I'm looking at Polo, should take note. When you see Powell easily go past the left back, you take note and you think, right, when I get on that ball, I've got him on toast. I got to go at him.
He had a goal on Wednesday against the New York Red Bulls in Portland's 4-1 win. That was with kind of the second group. The second group for the Timbers started that match. This is first time playing extended time with what you would consider to be the starting group for Portland. Oh, Powell juggles over Rubio. Gave a tough ball to Ridgewell, though, who just sends it forward. Timbers are going to press high. That's a new characteristic of the team. It's what Giovanni Savarese really wants from his group. Espinosa wide to Zusi. Rubio making a run. Zusi instead goes on the ground to Crozet. Gutierrez wide to Zusi. Vitas defending. Zusi cut it inside. Crozet wasn't making the run.
Sloppy from Blanco.
Crozet turns well. Trying to get it on his left. Slips it in towards Russell. Gleason off his line. Again making a big save. That's twice today that Jake Gleason has been called to action, and he has been sharp.
I tell you, again, this is spectacular. Because Russell, he's done well. He's lifted the ball. And so while Gleason, he's come out with his body. It's the last second his left arm comes up. Pure reactions.
Russell again. Slipping it through. Oh, it's a great goal. Flag stays down. And it's Sporting Kansas City taking the early lead. Roger Espinosa making it 1-0.
Well, it's a very smart pass from Russell. But he has time to pick up his head. There's no pressure, and then there's nobody following Espinosa. Shouts of offside. It's a good picture here. Just when Russell releases, is he offside? It's tight. And the question would be whether he's level with Ridgewell, too close to tell. But you can quite clearly see nobody is tracking Espinosa, and it's an easy finish for him as Russell puts it right on the plate.
The third time was the charm for Sporting Kansas City. Getting saved twice by Jake Gleason. And then finally getting it past him. So in the 27th minute, Kansas City takes a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, it's just one, I think. We'll look back to see, did he go a little early, but so close to tell.
There is video review here. Though, of course, different capabilities than in an MLS regular season match, given the constraints of a preseason venue and preseason setup. Espinosa out wide again to Russell. Now Rubio. Espinosa into Russell. He gets around Powell. Gleason comes off. Still there maybe for Kansas City. Rubio floating it to Zusi. Full volley, and it's wide.
Well, the confidence is building Sporting Kansas City. Everybody's getting involved, and you can see they work it well. Russell is continuing to have more and more of an influence, and you can see his turn of pace here. Gleason, he does well. Powell can't get him to the line. Gleason has to come out, and he sees the ball out. You just look at Russell. I know we talked about his resume. That's a big signing. A guy coming across from Derby who are pushing in the championship to go up to the Premiership. It's not as though this guy was on the outside looking in. He was a feature for them.
Scored 34 goals in the last 5 seasons there. Over 90 goals in a 12-year pro career in England and Scotland. This is Johan Crozet getting around Liam Ridgewell. Has Espinosa in the middle. And he couldn't get around Elvis Powell. Again, pressure from Kansas City. Ridgewell draws the foul.
Timbers need to get a hold of things. You can see Rubio getting a hold of Liam Ridgewell. Just to quickly correct myself, I use the American way of saying Derby County for Johnny Russell.
You've been back here. You've been back here too long, Ross. Larry Smabiala has shown a yellow card, a delayed yellow card, it appeared.
big game needed for Gleason today. Just think that's a position from us without being notified where the areas that Coach Tavarese is looking for with the competition is still in question about. We would, by our own assumption, guess that that is one area, just because we've seen Antonella, we've seen Gleason being interchanged. So that's why goalkeeper for the Timbers needs a big day.
Timbers go quick with the throw. Here's Andy Polo. Back to Diego Valeri. Sliding in from behind to make it difficult was Lobato. Espinoza. Gutierrez, big ball forward for Johnny Russell. Powell back to defend. Russell goes tumbling. Foul and a card to Elvis Powell.
Well, the back line for the Timbers are having a chase right now because nobody's putting in a challenge in the midfield. You need somebody to put a foot in. There's too much time for this ball to be delivered without somebody getting close and forcing the midfield to either play sideways or play back the way. It's too easy for them to pick up their head and hit the channels, especially with guys with the technical ability as Sporting Kansas City have in the center of the park.
Diego Chara still recovering from off-season foot surgery. Broke his foot, of course, in the first leg of the Western Conference semifinals. He made his preseason debut on Wednesday, 17 minutes against New York. Felipe Gutierrez, service into the box. Ilie at the back post. Rubio couldn't direct it on frame. It was Adi getting it clear. Quase brings it down. Guzman towards Valeri into space, but Zuzi's there. Guzman pokes it away. Olam, nice ball to Blanco. Blanco. Oh, it came off Zusi. Melia is going to play it safe, and it's out for a corner. It all came off Graham Zusi, though I think he was saying to Melia that wasn't intentional. Maybe could have gotten away with collecting that.
I think when it comes on to you so quickly, you don't want to take any chances, and Tim will pride himself, Melia will pride himself on his touch. This is a guy that I knew from the Rochester Rhino days today, and I just saw him today at a quick word. Size of him since I played with him. He's an absolute brick house now.
Guzman takes this corner, headed away by Rubio. Blanco trying to bring it down, just popping it high into the air, essentially a jump ball. And it's out for a goal kick. Yeah, Tim Melia prides himself, I know, on his fitness, his diet. What a story. A professional sports story it's been, from a backup with the Rochester Rhinos when you were there, Ross. Latter part of the 2000s, to being an MLS pool goalkeeper, a backup at Chivas USA at the end of Chivas USA's time, to coming to Kansas City, winning the job, and turning his career eventually into being one of, if not, numbers would tell you, the best goalkeeper in MLS, and a very deserved winner of the 2017 Goalkeeper of the Year award. Probably the award that was least in doubt at the end of last season, who was going to win that.
Well, Kansas City, they're working well. Quase can just coming in the middle of the park. We talked about him being able to come inside and find options. Guzman just putting a foot in a little late.
Russell driving it in. Rubio. It was there for Diego Rubio, and he put it over the bar. Once again, Kansas City causing problems.
What a ball this is. You see Russell touch out his feet and whips it in. Puts it right into the area. What you would say, it's a difficult one for a striker coming across your body, but still Rubio, uncontested from any defenders coming in, 6 yards out, should be guiding it towards goal. What you would say is Timbers defense. Mabiala just caught in no man's land. He's more watching rather than picking up the striker coming through.
Blanco draws a foul. Timbers will get The big guys forward, Mabiala, Ridgewell, Olam, Adi for this set piece. Guzman drives it low, and it's cleared away.
Needs to be better. You send your big men up. Needs to be right. The delivery has to go in there. Give them something to go and leap after.
Polo's going to pressure. Second time the charm for Aikopara. Vitas all over Johan Croizet. And you saw that foul coming from yards away.
Just look how Croizet uses his body. Doesn't have to go into that space. He allows the ball to come to him because he feels Vitas. He's got him on his back. He's wrapped around him. Quite clearly a foul on Vitas.
Amelia, 35 yards off his line, just sends it forward. Polo brings it down. Wins a throw. Gutierrez. Rubio touch around Ridgewell, brought down. Likely a card. It is. Third yellow card of the match. 3 of the 4 Timbers starting defenders in the book already.
He does catch him. Rubio takes the touch to the side. And what Ridgewell's arguing is that it should have been a foul on Valeri, is what he thinks. I think Valeri is just grabbing the ear of the referee at the same time.
Illier, big switch over to Johnny Russell. First time ball comes off Alvis Powell. Mabiala heads it away. Still there maybe for Kansas City. Espinosa to Rubio. Ridgewell gets it clear. Timbers will try to break. Blanco into space for Polo in a foot race with Zusi. Zusi took the angle well and is able to win it.
Didn't he do so well, Zusi? Gave a tiny bit away to Polo for speed, but not a whole lot, and he already was on his bike when he saw the ball was going to be played. The angle of his body, you said his recovery run, the angle of that was done really well. It's good though. Something like that I was talking about from the Timbers standpoint is you need that run going in. Even if it doesn't come off, at least you're pushing that line back, allowing more room in the midfield.
Guzman has Powell on the right. Sends it in towards the back post. Valeri was making a run, but Melia quick off his line to collect. Christian Lobato. Rubio leaves for Lobato. Big switch over to Croizet. Zusi coming forward at the byline, cuts it back behind Rubio, and then Powell there before it could make its way to Johnny Russell.
Everybody stopped as though there was a whistle blown. Just see Zusi again, just underlapping, coming on the inside to get that cross in, and Alvis Powell just does well, just marking Russell in that circumstances. It's been a good battle to watch between Johnny Russell and Amos Powell. Something different for Powell to deal with. Guy who's got pace and a guy who's obviously intelligent. Russell getting on the ball, whether he can knock it and go past you. So you got to maybe give it a little bit, but then if you drop off too much, then all of a sudden he's getting out of his feet and he's picking his pass.
Good combination between Russell and Espinosa. Oh, again, just out of the reach of Rubio.
It's the first I've seen of Sporting Kansas City in person in preseason. And chatting to their assistant coach, Kerry Zavagna, and he said, primary, stay healthy. Well, obviously Kyrie Shelton had to go off early, but secondly, the fitness levels of the team. And you have to say, you can imagine they'll be impressed with what they've seen from their team in this first half, the sharpness of them.
Well, here's a giveaway from Opara. Blanco, still Sebastian Blanco. Blanco, back post, Adi! Oh, it's off his head, and he couldn't direct it on goal. Peter Vermees and the players on the bench, I think, are suggesting that was a handball on Fernando Adi. It was tough to tell in real time. That is close as the Timbers have come in this first half.
That's one you need to see again. Whether the ball has just come on to Adi rather quickly in the height of it, as Blanco did well to get to the end line. Nice and calm from Powell.
And again, they get it to Ridgewell. Big ball from Ridgewell, out wide to Fernando Adi. He has Polo in the middle. Adi running at Opara. Still Adi to the end line. Oh, he sent in a dangerous ball. Nobody was making that run. And Lobato is able to get it out of danger.
Did well, Fernando Adi. As you said, nobody was going in. It was only Polo, the other Timber player, who was in the area. All started from the ball from Ridgewell. Game just getting stretched out a little bit. But we get another look at Adi as the ball comes into him. You could just quite clearly see what manager Peter Vermees was arguing about. It was a handball. It was deliberate. Adi, he just couldn't get his body quick enough on the end of it as Blanco, I think, surprised a few people getting to the end line and getting that cross away.
Yeah, pretty clear there on the slow motion replay. KC probably feels like Adi should be on a yellow card now, but other than that, no harm, no foul. Polo was offside.
Valeri getting on the ball. We haven't seen much of that this first half. Just get the sense this team, they'd sick the more that Valeri's getting on the ball, looking forward.
Gutierrez just out of the reach of Espinosa. Now Guzman picks out Valeri. He tried to touch it around Zusi, who defended well. Rubio. Espinosa leaves for Gutierrez. Back towards Rubio. Gleason off his line. He read it well.
See more and more with Polo. He's playing further alongside Adi just up front as we've seen this half progress.
Blanco turns, almost lost it, did lose it. Espinosa into space for Russell. Mabiala out to defend in the final minute of the first 45. Gutierrez, Rubio, back towards Gutierrez. Ridgewell sends it out for a throw.
Just go back to the one a few minutes ago with Gleason having to come out, ball through to Rubio.
We're told there'll be 1 minute of added time here in the first half, and it'll begin with a Sporting Kansas City corner kick. Roger Espinosa, 27th minute, the lone goal of this half. Kansas City been very dangerous coming forward, forced Jake Gleason into a handful of really good saves in this first half. Here's Susi in front of the Timbers substitutes. Floats it to the back post. Gleason punches it away. Croiset takes a touch, and then it's cleared off the line by Guzman. Well, Croiset hit that very well, and then back in from Gutierrez. Gleason getting onto it. That was headed to 2-0, and David Guzman on the back post kept it out. Rubio, a yellow card for time wasting. Here's a look.
Croiset, he does so well. Wasn't the cleanest of punches from Gleason initially. Croiset, fakes out Mabialu, sells himself, goes in, solid strike, but Guzman, you could see, retreats to the line and does well preventing the ball from crossing the line and to keep the scoreline at 1-0 Sporting Kansas City.
Beasler dumps it forward. Croiset chasing.
We've seen more as the half comes to completion. Just with David Guzman and the tendency in positional sense so the Timbers just adjusting as the half progressed, because what you would say is Sporting Kansas City, stronger team in that first half, looks sharp, deserving of their 1-0 lead right now at halftime.
They got their goal through Roger Espinosa. Diego Rubio, I think, arguing his yellow card. As we are now at halftime, a first half that Kansas City certainly, I think, going to be really pleased with. As we look at the highlights early on, Espinosa forcing a good save out of Jake Gleason, going down to his left to parry it away. And then again, that one a little easier for Gleason, had a little bit to do. Gutierrez just missing on the free kick from distance. Alvis Powell, as we've seen this preseason, getting into good spaces coming forward, but Tim Melia positioned well. Melia again, couple quarter chances to snuff out. This could have been maybe the best chance of the half. It was a handball on Fernando Adi for the Timbers, that is. Kansas City got their goal. Good ball from Johnny Russell slipping in. Roger Espinosa. Jake Gleason wanted offside, didn't get it. That made it 1-0 in the 27th minute, and that's where we stand at halftime. This is it for Ross Smith and myself. We're going to give way to the Sporting Kansas City guys for the second half. Nate Bukaty, Matt Lawrence, Carter Augustine in after we take a quick break. At the half, it's Sporting Kansas City 1, Portland Timbers 0 from Tucson, Arizona.
Carter Augustine from Sporting Kansas City. I'm here with Peter Vermees, manager. Pretty first choice lineup there in that first half, created the majority of the chances, and you get the goal. What'd you make of that first choice lineup out there today?
Yeah, look, I think we moved the ball well and we created some good chances. I do think that we probably at times, we maybe could have been a little bit better towards the end of the half. I think we were trying to get a little too direct. We should have probably opened the game a little bit more, but all in all, I was pleased with the effort.
And can we expect this being the last preseason game, a bit longer of a run out for these guys than in previous games?
Yeah, look, I'll change some guys out here in the second half, more just because, look, there's a lot of guys that deserve a lot of playing time, and, we haven't made up our mind on what we want to do yet as we move into the season. And, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for a lot of guys, and so there'll be some changes here in the second half.
And then quickly, Kyrie Shelton taken off pretty early on. Any status update on him?
Yeah, more of just a contusion, and it was better to take him off. You're not going to push it. It's no reason to at this moment. Make sure we get home strong.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bit of a broadcasting switch, so I'm going to toss it up to the SKC TV group of Nate Bukaty and Matt Lawrence.
All right, thanks, Carter. Thanks, Carter Augustine. As Nate Bukaty and Matt Lawrence up here in the booth, we are taking over for the Portland Timbers play-by-play crew, who did a great job in the first half. Jake Zivin and Ross Smith, as we tagged in, Matt, and are ready to go here in the second half. This will be the final 45 minutes for both of these teams in their preseason campaigns down in Tucson, Arizona at the Mobile Mini Sun Cup, and Sporting Kansas City in possession as we start the second half, going from left to right and holding a 1-0 lead over their Western Conference rivals, the Portland Timbers, who have made a couple of changes to start the second half. Samuel Armenteros, who you just saw, number 99, has checked in up top in place of Fernando Adi, and then in a defensive midfield role, Christian Paredes comes in for Lawrence Olam, the former Sporting Kansas City man. So a couple of changes for new head coach Giovanni Savarese for the Portland Timbers. The same 11 on the field for Sporting Kansas City that closed out the half. Of course, Peter Vermees did have to make a change. You heard Carter Augustine asking Peter about that change, which was Diego Rubio coming in for the injured Kyrie Shelton. Here come the Timbers down the right-hand side, and a cross attempt by Alvis Powell was blocked by Christian Labato, and it will result in a corner for the Timbers.
Yeah, certainly a lot better from Portland Timbers in this opening couple of minutes of the second half. The first half, I don't think Alvis Powell virtually got over his own halfway line. This time he has progressed down and won himself a corner.
And this outswinger is volleyed over the crossbar by Armenteros, who is a newcomer to the Portland Timbers side and has impressed so far down here in Tucson, Arizona. In fact, had a goal and an assist in the Timbers' last game on Wednesday against the Red Bulls 2 lineup, as they step up the pressure here, giving Sporting Kansas City an opportunity to try to work it out of the back. Felipe Gutierrez is going to be called for the foul as he knocks Sebastian Blanco to the ground.
I think, though, Nate, at Portland Timbers, they had to try something different. They got the absolute runaround in that first half.
Yeah.
Sporting KC, in terms of possession, must have been up there, 70% possession. Tim Melia was hardly used whatsoever in that first half, barring his hands a couple of times. Already it's much more dynamic from Portland Timbers. Paredes coming into that middle of the midfield, he'll get around a lot more than Lawrence Olam did. Fernando Adi in that first half, yes, we know he's a good goal scorer, but he's virtually obsolete in that first half. Armenteros, what we do know about him is he's a
fantastic goal scoring record, as he is offside here. He's played all over Europe, Sweden, Belgium, Azerbaijan, most recently in Serie A, but really has proven himself to be a fantastic goal scorer. At Heracles in the Netherlands, scored 22 goals in 32 appearances just over a year ago. So he is going to maybe push Fernando Adi at that striker spot for the Timbers. But here comes Sporting Kansas City the other way now. Quase trying to play it through to Zusi, was cut out by Vitas. And we are seeing some adjustments by the Timbers too. They've just kind of stepped up their energy level and pressure here to start the second half. It was a thoroughly dominant performance by Sporting KC in the first half. Could have maybe led by more than a goal. But the Timbers looking, as you said, Matt, more dynamic here to start the second half.
And whether they've just switched for a few minutes or not, Valeri's come out onto this left-hand side as well. Andy Polo's playing through the centre of that midfield slash attacking trio for Portland Timbers, and they have kept up the pressure a lot better. From Sporting KC's point of view, I don't think they can take their foot off the gas. It's a very dominant first half performance. They've just got to keep that possession of the ball, keep moving it, and moving it quickly as well. That's something they did very well in that first half. The speed with which they moved the football around this pitch here.
Well, this is one of the things you want to get out of preseason matches, and they're getting a look at a team that is pressing the action right now, and that's good for Sporting Kansas City because they want to be able to play out of the back even when they're facing that high press. Armenteros is able to send it out wide to Powell once again. Roger Espinoza is able to take it away before it found the foot of Valeri. Diego Rubio is able to get it outside to Johnny Russell now, who had a very good first half, had the assist on the goal, setting up Roger Espinoza on the doorstep. Now Lobato, Rubio, Espinoza.
I think Johnny Russell grew into that game in the first half. I think in the opening 30 minutes, he really wasn't into it. He couldn't get his foot on the ball. He couldn't get found. At times, he looked as though he didn't know which movements to make. But in that last 15 minutes of the first half, he really grew into the game, got on the ball a lot more, provided the assist, as you mentioned, Nate, and also provided a really wicked cross that Diego Rubio should have tucked away in probably something like the 40th minute as well. I think that's one thing we do know about Johnny Russell. He's very direct, very quick, and he does have a very good delivery with that trusty left foot of his.
And here is Russell cutting inside this time. Trying to find Rubio, but this time Mabiala was able to step in front of it. Here's Blanco for the Timbers. Now Valeri. Guzman. Well, Paredes, the substitute at halftime for the Timbers, puts it in toward the corner. Blanco was not able to keep it in, and it's out for a goal kick for Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, poor ball from Paredes, and Sebastian Blanco on that far side, not at all happy with that. Kicks the ball away in disgust. It was a simple, should have been a simple chip delivery from Paredes. Just overhit it a couple of yards. But what we are seeing from Paredes as well is he's pushing higher up the pitch than Lawrence Olam did. It's really only Guzman who's sitting and holding at the moment, almost playing in a 4-1-4-1 formation. Paredes, obviously a lot younger, Paraguayan international, very good player, only 19 years of age, but I think he's going to offer more to this Portland Timbers side than Lawrence Olam did in that first half.
This time Mike Opar is able to play it over to Roger Espinoza. Now space for Lobato to get forward. Slides it through for Rubio, who is onside here. Rubio into the penalty area, slides it past the keeper, and it's 2-0 Sporting Kansas City.
An absolutely magnificent finish from Diego Rubio, and if it is proven that he's onside, that was a wonderfully timed run as well. Ran all the way along the line, just held his run, then at the last minute just checks off Liam Ridgewell. You see there, Ridgewell has a look across the line at the linesman, but that's a really clinical finish from Diego Rubio.
Well, Diego Rubio now 2 goals in 2 games here in Tucson. He scored on a penalty on Wednesday, this time on the fantastic through ball from Christian Lobato, and Sporting Kansas City double their lead here early in the second half. Look, it's an open competition for that central striker for Sporting Kansas City. Kyrie Shelton looked like he was the leader coming into this game. In fact, he was in the starting 11, but suffers what Peter Vermees referred to at halftime as a contusion, and maybe a precautionary measure to take him out of the game. But all of a sudden, that opens a little door for Diego Rubio, and he has taken advantage of it, getting himself on the score sheet.
As you say, 2 in 2, Nate. Tucked away a penalty against New England Revolution earlier in the week, and that really there that we just saw against Timbers here was a wonderful finish. He had a lot of time to think about it, took his time, a cool, measured finish, just slid it underneath Jake Gleason. As I've said as well, the run was timed magnificently well. We know VAR's here. They would have had a look at the run just to see if it was on or offside. Obviously onside, really well-timed run. Been very impressed with Diego Rubio since he came on. He almost could have sulked because he wasn't picked in that starting lineup, but he's come in and really had a positive effect on the game.
As I said, that's an opportunity. You have to look at it that way,
exactly.
Right? And when you consider some of these other attacking players that Sporting Kansas City have brought in, the likes of Quase and Johnny Russell and Felipe Gutierrez, just the ability to convert from that number 9 position could be enormous for Sporting KC. Here comes an opportunity for Armenteros, and he clips it inside the far post. What a finish. Speaking of number 9s coming on, Armenteros pulls one back for the Timbers, and a fantastic finish.
We said that's what he's all about, clinical finishing. I thought that actually Ika Parra defended this relatively well. He shepherds Armenteros out wide, but it's a great finish from Armenteros. Not a great deal Tim Mealy can do about that. He just cuts it back so well with his left foot, Armenteros. That's a clinical finish. As I say, I don't think there was a lot wrong with Ika Parra's defending there. He did everything right. He stood him up. He shepherded Armenteros away from goal. But what a glorious finish from Armenteros. We talk about centre forwards taking their chances, Nate. As you mentioned, Rubio's done himself and his chances. No harm, but Armenteros, wow, what a great finish that is.
He's got 3 goals in 3 games down here in Tucson for the Timbers. Long range effort by David Guzman that sails high into the desert air here in Tucson.
Let's talk a bit more about Armenteros, because that really was a truly clinical finish. Anybody who gets full Sweden caps is no mug. He's a proper footballer, Armenteros. 2 caps for the Sweden national team.
Well, this one deflects out to Quase into the area. Quase with the right foot, and it's parried over the bar by Gleason, who was a busy man in the first half for the Timbers. And you and I have talked, Matty, about Quase being a predominantly left-footed player, but he's had to go twice in this match with his right foot, and he's put the keeper to the test both times. And that one was headed toward the corner.
And that's a very good save by Jake Gleason. Stands up very big and tall, parries that one just over the crossbar, tips over the crossbar, sorry. But I like that from Quase, I really do. On his right foot, I think on his left foot he would have fed it into the corner. With his right foot, he just took a good swing at it. It was a real good, clean finish, or good, clean strike.
Corner from Gutierrez headed out for a goal kick. So this has been a busy second half. Minutes with a goal coming for Diego Rubio for Sporting KC, and then an answer by Samuel Armenteros, the Swedish international, the newcomer for the Portland Timbers.
I think Savarese, the new head coach for Portland Timbers now, I think he's got to be a lot happier with his second half performance.
Well, from the Sporting Kansas City side of things, we're all very interested to see what the new players will bring to the table and how they will fit into the system that we know Sporting Kansas City will play. But for the Timbers, I think there's interest to see what will the system be with a new man in charge, replacing Caleb Porter. And Giovanni Savarese, who was with the New York Cosmos for the last 5 years as their head coach and sporting director at the NASL level. Another newcomer for the Timbers, Polo, sending it down the field. He was looking for Diego Valeri, but the offside flag came up.
Yeah, it's a good line held there by Matt Beazer and Ika Parra, 2 fullbacks just a yard or 2 in front. Very well, Valeri, clearly a yard or 2 offside. Good decision by the linesman, the assistant referee on that far side.
Valeri didn't seem to agree, but the 2017 MLS Player of the Year was denied this time. There's a poor ball from Beasler. Polo taken to the ground, play on, says the referee, as he gives the Timbers the advantage. Armenteros, who's already got a goal in this game. Now Guzman, and out wide to Vitas.
It's not just the goal from Armenteros. He's been involved in the build-up play a lot more than Addy was in that first half. Yes, Addy didn't have a great deal of service in that first half from his teammates, but Armenteros is always showing up. He always wants the ball. Always pulling off the shoulder of Matt Beasler.
Powell on the right-hand side, measuring up Lobato. Now Polo, cutting his way back and blocked by Lobato. Bounces to Paredes on the near side. And the run by Vitas. Puts the cross in. Armenteros still with it, trying to touch his way around Melia, and he puts it in. And it's a brace for Armenteros, who was given sudden life to the Portland Timbers coming on at halftime. He's drawn the Timbers level.
It's another decent finish. It's good feet in the 6-yard box from Armenteros. It's a little bit scrappy. Yes, SKC aren't going to be too happy with their defending there, but he does very well, Armenteros. He's on his own there in the 6-yard box, surrounded by 4 or 5 SKC players, plus Tim Melia, who obviously can use his hands being the goalkeeper, but Armenteros just dinks that into the back of the net. It's a good finish once again from Armenteros. That's a brace within 14 minutes for Armenteros. This is what he's all about. He's a goal scorer, born and bred goal scorer.
And he's got a sturdy build, as we talked about. Can't get knocked off the ball, and that first shot attempt, Beasler blocked it, but it fell right back to Armenteros, and he stayed with it, stayed calm, and was able to touch it around the keeper.
Exactly that, Nate. Calm and composed. That's what that finish was.
Do we have more fireworks? Here's Diego Rubio. He's got a goal here in the second half. Now Gutierrez. What a different half it's been for the Timbers. A couple of substitutions, and they look like a completely different team.
It really is that cliche. It's a game of two halves. It certainly has been here. SKC was so dominant in that first half. The second half, and let's give Savarese some credit, the new head coach of Portland Timbers. He's seen the problems that his side had in that first half. I think he's altered the formation. He's certainly altered a couple of the personnel, and it's certainly worked.
It's through for Espinoza. He was offside. The save was made by Gleason anyway. Gleason really, despite giving up a couple of goals in this game, has made some big saves for the Timbers. That last one didn't matter because the offside flag had come up, but he's been very active.
Yeah, certainly in that first half, Jake Gleason was the only Portland Timber player to come out of that first half with any credit. He made a couple of very good saves, and he's carried on in the second half. As you mentioned, Nate, he's given away a couple of goals, but neither of them were his fault.
Diego Rubio has done a terrific job for Sporting KC in picking up fouls. Let's see if we can check in with Carter Augustine on the sideline with us, as Sporting Kansas City appear to be making a handful of substitutions here as we enter the 62nd minute. Carter, what can you tell us about the changes here?
Yeah, Nate, looks like there's 3 subs coming on, including Jalen Lindsay, Jimmy Madronda, and Daniel Shallow. You see a couple of new guys heading out, Johnny Russell and Felipe Gutierrez, as well as Graham Zusi. Of course, all 3 of these guys still getting very much into full fitness. Just wanted to touch on Daniel Shallery real quick. We did an interview with him that you'll see later on this season, but with all these new guys coming in, of course, it leads to competition for places like you guys were talking about. Daniel Shallery didn't seem at all scared. In fact, he said he welcomes it. He's going to be patient, and what he wants to do is really force his way into Peter Vermees's mind and make it really hard for Peter Vermees to leave him out of the lineup. So excited to see what he has on offer this year for Sporting Kansas City.
All right, thanks, Carter. As the Timbers out of the substitution, pushing their way down the field. Matt Beasler's gone to ground. He's clutching the back of his leg after some contact.
Yeah, we know enough about Matt Beasler to know that he doesn't go over unless he's hurt. That's for certain. Looked like Blanco may have just stood on the back of Beasler, whether it's his Achilles or the back of it or his calf. I don't think it's particularly intentional, but it certainly hurt Matt Beasler, as you see there, just clutching onto the back of his right leg, either the top of his Achilles or the bottom of his calf muscle.
Well, let's once again give you the 3 substitutions that just came in for Sporting Kansas City for about the final half hour of this game. Jalen Lindsay in at right back for Graham Zusi. Jalen Lindsay, the 17-year-old who has really impressed for Sporting Kansas City down here in Tucson. And then on the left wing, Daniel Shallowy checking in for Johnny Russell, who's still working his way back into full fitness after having a few weeks off between his time at Darby County and signing with Sporting Kansas City. And then Jimmy Madronda coming in for Felipe Gutierrez, who is also still working his way into full match fitness for Sporting KC as well. This time Matt Beasler's able to take it away from Armenteros. Melia under some pressure, gets it over to Labato. There's that high press again from the Timbers, though, as Valeri takes it back. Ball slid through for Alvis Powell. He's able to keep it in, teasing Melia away from goal. Here comes the cross. The volley pings around and bounces into the arms of Tim Melia. That was Paredes, who didn't quite catch the volley cleanly. But again, the Timbers are on the front foot here in Tucson this second half.
It's that they're on the front foot, they're pressuring higher up the field when they're winning the ball back, whether that be through forcing Sporting KC to give away possession or whether it's actually winning the ball themselves. They're in that final third, they're in the danger area. They look so much more dynamic, Portland Timbers, in this second half, so much more dangerous going forward. So I'm not sure how Savarese would describe this formation. For me, it's really a 4-1-4-1, with Guzman being the only sitting midfielder. Paredes plays a lot higher up the field than Lawrence Olam did. I think it suits them a lot more. Paredes as well covers a lot more ground than Lawrence Olam did. Lawrence Olam, I think, predominantly really would prefer to play centre half. Doesn't cover the ground in that central midfield area, or certainly not enough to provide any gusto for Portland Timbers.
Certainly we saw Lawrence Olam play predominantly that center half position last year for the Timbers and when he was with Sporting Kansas City in years prior. But he has also shown the ability to play that defensive midfield role. Jalen Lindsay did well to get it forward to Madronda. Now something could be on for Sporting here. Espinoza firing a shot from long range.
You already talked briefly about Jalen Lindsay. Nate, at 17 years of age, you would never know it. Maybe you were looking at him facially, but body-wise, he's very much got the body of a man. He's 17 years old. He plays like a man as well. He plays like an experienced MLS player. Really interested to see how he does in this final 25 minutes that we have remaining. He's got half an hour under his belt today. How he performs alongside Ike Power and more experienced players. He looks very, very comfortable. Looks good defensively too.
He was signed this past summer to the senior club as a homegrown player for Sporting KC. Really spent most of last season featuring with the U17s on the international level for the United States. He was named best 11 in the CONCACAF championship that the U17s won, and then of course was featured in the team that went to India for the U17 World Cup. Played mostly at center half for the United States, but I think Sporting Kansas City see him more as a right back. He's looked very comfortable there. On the replay, you could see there a foul on Diego Rubio.
Yeah, it was more of a forearm rather than an elbow. I don't think it was particularly intentional, but he did lead with that arm. Certainly caught Liam Ridgewell. It's a definite foul, but as I said, I don't think there's a great deal of malice there.
Might have caught him right in the Adam's apple that time. And Liam Ridgewell is a player that Portland Timber fans really want to see stay healthy this year. That was a big problem for the Timbers from time to time, as the 32-year-old last year dealt with long-term injuries to his foot and to his calf muscle. And of course, that defense is so much more organized for the Timbers when he's out there. Through ball intended for Quase is cleared away by Gleason, and we've got an injury for the Timbers here, and it looks like Vitas grabbing that hamstring. Yeah, you don't want to start the season off with one of those.
No, but unfortunately it looks as though he's going to immediately grab for that right hamstring, did Vitas, just as he was trying to chase Quase through. It's that sprinter's hamstring almost. He tried to open up their tired muscles, fatigued muscles. Unfortunately for Vitas, it looks as though he will be going into that new season with certainly at worst a hamstring, or at best rather a hamstring strain, and at worst a hamstring tear.
Well, Peter Vermees was talking at halftime to our Carter Augustine about not wanting to take any chances with Kyrie Shelton. Make sure you go into the season fully healthy. That's completely non-contact on Vitas. He's just trying to keep up with Quasi there. And I think every athlete's dealt with that at some point, feeling that tug at the back of your leg. And that's, it's just a tough injury to deal with going right into the season.
He couldn't even pull up, could he? He automatically fell straight to the ground. It obviously, unfortunately, it looks quite a nasty hamstring injury. Looks to be in quite a bit of pain as well. It's a real crying shame for Vitas in the last game of pre-season.
You can just see the look on his face.
Yeah, he's distraught.
Yeah, here in the 69th minute, he's 20 minutes away from the regular season being here. And those types of injuries, you never know how long, how many weeks those can hold you out. So that's, you go through the entire preseason, you go through all the matches, you go through all the training sessions, and you're 20 minutes away. And that's not the way you want to start the season. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for Vitas, as he's going to be replaced in this game now by a homegrown player for the Portland Timbers. A young man who's started to play onto the senior club at just 19 years old, Marco Farfan. Got 18 appearances for Timbers 2 back in 2016, and then 6 appearances for the senior club last year did Farfan. Here's Quasi serving across in with the right foot, and it wasn't a bad one, but cleared away off the 6-yard box. Quasi's really shown some things here for Sporting Kansas City in this final preseason match of the year. Jalen Lindsey's able to get around Farfan, puts it into the box. It's Shallowy, now out to Madronda. A little clever Beckenbauer there, but wasn't able to pull the trigger. Now Espinoza, Rubio, trying to get the turn on Ridgewell. It's blocked by Ridgewell and out for a corner for Sporting KC.
What I really like there from Sporting KC is the patience, Nate. The fact that Jimmy Madronda didn't take a poor shot, didn't try and fire it through a defender. He kept the ball, he sprayed it out wide, and they worked it very well around that 18-yard box. Sporting KC, and Diego Rubio eventually won his team a corner. That's what Sporting KC are all about, though, that patience. They don't take too many bad shots. They're always trying to work the ball wide and whip the ball into the box in behind the defenders.
It's Elie to take the corner this time for Sporting. Rubio got ahead to it, and another fantastic save by Jake Gleason. He has kept the Timbers in this match.
And Marco Farfan's just come into the game, not quite up to speed, just got caught underneath the ball there, Farfan. It's a good leap by Diego Rubio, just levers Farfan off the ball there. Really was a good header, and as you say, another great save by Jake Gleason.
Yeah, in slow motion that one looked easy, but Gleason really had to get his hands up quickly for that reaction save. Here comes another one that's headed away by Armenteros, who's been the man of the match in the second half for the Timbers with 2 goals. Quasi staying with it, working against Blanco in the corner. Now Espinoza, back to Madronda. Good first touch from Madronda, but the shot trickles wide. And now Blanco and Quasi going nose to nose over in the corner. It was a physical series between the two of them, trying to work out of the corner there. Blanco, the Argentinian, Quasi, the Frenchman, and neither one was backing down after the play. Quasi and the referee having a word over here on the near side after Peter Vermees also talking to the head referee. And the extracurriculars are over, and we're back to soccer here in Tucson, Arizona.
Yeah, I think you could see on Peter Vermees' face, they didn't like the tone of the referee. The referee was only a yard or 2 away from him, and the referee started shouting at Peter Vermees. I don't think he took too kindly to that.
Madronda comes away with it. We had a chance to slide it through to Shallowy.
He did. He just delayed it a little bit too long, and fair play to Madronda. He saw that Daniel Shallowy had just run offside, but it was just slight mistiming there of the run and of the pass from Madronda.
2-2 our score. Sporting got a fantastic team goal that was put away by Roger Espinoza in the first half to make it 1-0. Armenteros with a couple of goals in the second half. Diego Rubio with a goal in the second half to make it 2-2. Quase. Madrona with a one-touch forward to Rubio. He's going to fire the shot from long range. It's going to be difficult to beat Gleason from that far away in the form that he is in.
Yeah, very speculative drive there from Diego Rubio. It's simple for Jake Gleason to watch that and just wave it over the crossbar. But I don't mind that from Diego Rubio. He's got the confidence. He's got a couple of goals in the last 2 games. Brimming with confidence. Don't mind him taking the shot, but what he does have to do is make the goalkeeper work. He has to hit the target.
Ilie, a rare display of emotion there from the normally stoic central midfielder for Sporting KC, but he did not believe he was guilty of a foul there.
Normally so calm and collected, Ilie. Yeah, as you say, Nate, rarely see a flicker of emotion from Ilie.
Diego Valeri, what a year he had last year, 2017. Helping the Timbers finish atop the Western Conference on 53 points.
Yeah, 21 goals and 11 assists in 32 games. Absolutely fantastic. Fully deserved of that MVP title.
Shallowy could not touch it around Alvis Powell. He was able to get it out off of Shallowy for the Timbers throw-in. Polo hasn't had a chance to do much for the Timbers, and he's easily dispossessed this time by Quase. And here is Quase, touching his way around one defender. A kick save by Gleason. Gleason again to the rescue for the Timbers.
Yeah, another great save from Gleason. I actually thought that Quase could have gone over just before that. I think he felt the contact, felt confident that he could just dink the ball over Jake Gleason. But another good save from Gleason. You said Armenteros man of the match for the second half. I think I agree with that, Nate. But Jake Gleason overall over the 75 minutes of the game, I think he has to be man of the match so far.
Looks like we're going to have another round of substitutions for Sporting Kansas City. Of course, we saw Vitas go down with a hamstring, what appeared to be anyway, a hamstring injury, and maybe Peter Vermees sensing 15 minutes till the regular season. Some of his regulars will come off now as youngster Emiliano Amor will replace Matt Beasler. Also another youngster, Amir Jidic, coming in for Aiko Para. And Seth Sinovic, the wily veteran, I think we can call him at this point in his career, will be replacing Christian Labato.
That's the whole back four now switched up for SKC.
And a chance again for the Timbers. And it's in on the rebound. It didn't take long for that new back line to get tested, and the Portland Timbers have taken a 3-2 lead.
Yeah, and that is the problem when you're making that many changes. It's all about pre-season. It's all about protecting your players. You mentioned, Nate, that Vitas pulled a hamstring. Peter Vermees has withdrawn his more experienced back line. He doesn't want to suffer any injuries, and this type of goal can happen. 3 of that back 4 have only just walked onto the pitch. Very hard for them to get up to speed straight away. Lack of communication by the players as well doesn't help. You could see how upset Tim Melia was to concede that goal.
Christian Paredes, the 19-year-old who came in at halftime replacing Lawrence Olum with the goal to make it 3-2. It was the run again, though, by Armenteros, who was taken down inside the penalty area on the referee saying a clean tackle by Emiliano Amor. But on that tackle, the ball bounced right out to Paredes, and he put it home. Basically had an empty net to look at there.
Look, we have to be crediting Giovanni Savarese. He made those changes at half-time. The 2 players who came on at half-time have provided that killer blow, the killer punch. 3 goals from the 2 substitutes. The formation change, the personnel change has really worked out for Portland Timbers and Giovanni Savarese.
I get the sense that the referee might be delaying play right now because of a video review check. I did see him point to his ear at one point. He's not pointing to his ear right now, which would indicate that a check was taking place. But apart from that, I'm not sure what the delay would be here. Maybe a substitution coming in for the Timbers. We'll see if we can get an update from Carter Augustine, who's down on the sideline right now. Carter, what can you tell us about what's taking place right now?
Nate, I think he's checking for offside on that initial run that led to that move. So I think that's what he's looking for with the VAR on the sideline, but now allowing a substitution. You wonder if it is an offside and it's cut and dry like that. By now, it's probably not the case.
Dyrone Espria is checking into the game, and he will replace Blanco. As we take another look here, was a very close offside situation potentially there by Armenteros. And remember, in order for a play to be overturned by video review, the criteria is it has to be a clear and obvious error. You can see there that it was a very, very close situation for Armenteros, and they never actually went to the video official review. That was just the check. Again, remember, the check is when the video assistant referee will take a look at the play and decide whether or not he thinks a clear and obvious error might have been committed, and at that point he can signal for a review. The referee then, on an offside situation, can allow just the VAR to make the decision himself, since that is a black and white decision. There's no room for interpretation. But he can also go over and take a look himself if he so chooses. The final decision always rests with the referee on the field. And the goal does stand, and it's 3-2. Timbers, who have looked like an entirely different attack ever since Samuel Armenteros, the Swede, came in for Fernando Adi. Boy, Fernando Adi, over 50 goals in his career for the Portland Timbers. But watching this preseason, Matt, and I don't know how much you make out of preseason play, you have to think that Armenteros will be pushing him for that starting spot.
He certainly is. We spoke to a few of the Portland Timbers backroom staff a little bit earlier on here in Tucson. I think they agreed with that. I think that they're very happy that they've got two top-class strikers in Adi and Armenteros, and right now Armenteros is the man in form. Who do you want playing for you? You want that man in form, the person who's scoring the goals. Yes, I think in that first half Adi was devoid of any decent service. I don't think it was all his fault that he was relatively obsolete in that first half. It's due to his teammates and also I think the formation as well. As I say, credit once again to Savarez. He's changed things around and it's really worked in this second half. A completely different side here.
Here's Diego Rubio for Sporting, trying to switch it to the near side to Quase. It's covered, though, by Farfan. Jalen Lindsay over to Elie, now out wide to Quase with a clever touch around the youngster Farfan. Quase now sending it in. It's deflected by Mabiala. Back out to Quase, who goes to ground. The referee has a good look at it, sees nothing wrong with it, and signals for a goal kick.
Yeah, that's a dive from Quase. There's no two ways about that. Almost threw himself into Paredes. Nothing in that whatsoever. Correct decision from the referee. Very little contact, if any. Just going back to that VAR, Nate, as well. I think that's the correct decision. I think that awarding the goal is the correct decision. Yes, it may have been fractionally offside, the initial run from Armenteros, but as you said, not a clear and obvious mistake.
I'm going to redo the goal kick here because of the pressure of Quase. It forced Ridgewell to step into the penalty area to touch it. Goal kicks must make it outside of the 18. Banged forward by Guzman, and the offside flag up against the Portland Timbers.
Yeah, that time Armenteros was a good half a yard offside. Correct decision from the assistant referee on that far side.
So now a backline for Sporting KC featuring 17-year-old, beg your pardon, 17-year-old Jalen Lindsay, 22-year-old Emiliano Amor, and 23-year-old Amir Jidic. Espinoza, who's already got a goal today, plays it back to Shallowy, taking it first time and banging it off the crossbar.
Boy, does he strike that sweetly, Daniel Shallowy. Just a shame he couldn't get it quite on target.
Daniel Shallowy, no hesitation, firing that first time, and boy, did he get his laces through it. But unlucky, denied by the crossbar that time, and it remains 3-2 Timbers in the 83rd minute.
Doesn't look like he's got the biggest quad muscles, Daniel Shallowy, but he strikes the ball so sweetly, he really does. Quite often very little backlift as well. Absolutely cannoned the ball off the crossbar there. The form is in Jake Gleason. You'd expect him to get a hand to anything. There's no way he was saving that one.
Here's Valeri for the Timbers, working against Jidic, who stands him up nicely this time. Well, for a preseason match here in Tucson, there has been a very high entertainment value for the fans at this Mobile Mini Cup.
And what we do know is that Peter Vermees won't be happy with that. He won't be happy with how open the game has been. He won't be happy with how open the defence has been. He certainly won't be happy that these teams conceded 3 goals. I'm not sure that they did that the whole of last season. Did they concede 3 goals in a game, Nate?
And all 3 of them coming here in the second half.
He prides himself, Peter Vermees, on his sides being compact. Very sturdy defensively. There certainly haven't been that in this second half here at the Keno Sports Complex.
Seth Sinovic making his way forward. Now Espinoza, cleared by Ridgewell. Amor. Now near side, Jalen Lindsay. Homegrown against homegrown here as he goes against Farfan. And turns him outside. Tries to get the cross in. Farfan was able to recover. Lindsay stays with it. Armentero's tracking all the way back there for the Timbers. 5.5 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. Sporting trailing 3-2. Of course, Sporting will get the regular season underway on Sunday at home against NYCFC. A match that will be nationally televised on Fox Sports 1. And the Portland Timbers will be opening up with their first 5 matches of the year away from home as Providence Park is able to go under a bit of a renovation. Sporting thought they deserved a throw in here, but they will be denied. And we'll have a couple of substitutions here. Sporting Kansas City and the Portland Timbers making a change. And for more on that, let's check in once again with Carter Augustine, who's down on the sideline for us.
Thanks, Nate. Yeah, we see Jerso coming in for Yohan Quaze, who had, I think, his best run out of the preseason. Coming into this season, the new signing, I think a lot of us over here in the States weren't exactly sure what position he would play in Peter Vermees' system. He's been on that right wing for the majority of the time. And I think today you saw why. A lot of strength, the ability to take guys one-on-one. And in the first half with Zusi on the overlap and him cutting inside on his left, something exciting for Sporting Kansas City fans, I think, today in Yohan Quaze's performance.
All right, thanks, Carter. And also Eric Valentine coming into the game for the Portland Timbers as well, with just a few minutes remaining in this one. But it will be interesting to see the way that Jerso is used this year. Matt Lawrence is a guy who came in last year, impressed the fans, had 8 goals in his maiden voyage at the MLS level. But if he comes in as a sub, here comes an opportunity for the Timbers and a save by Tim Melia, denying Dairon Asprilla. He had sent the defender sliding by, but he couldn't put it past Melia.
Yeah, initial piece of brilliance from Asprilla. Sitting Jidic down on his backside, but just couldn't quite finish past Tim Melia. Tim Melia did very well, stood up big and strong, forced Asprilla to decide where he's going to knock the ball, tried to put it through Tim Melia's legs, I think in the end, beaten away by his left foot. Good save from Tim Melia.
As I was about to make the point on Jerso, if he becomes a player who comes off the bench, we know that he really could stress defenses with his pace. Maybe that's something he can offer Sporting Kansas City this year. The weapon they really didn't have last year was a pacey attacker off the bench in late game situations. And of course, I'm sure he's not giving up on the possibility of working his way back into the starting 11 this season either.
Yeah, look, no player wants to be a great option off the bench, that's for sure. They want to be a great option for the whole 90 minutes. But I thoroughly agree, Nate. For 20 minutes, half an hour, if a fullback's seen off Quaze or Johnny Russell and then you see Jerso coming on, you're you're going to be very worried about his pace, his directness, his eye for goal. I think Jerser's good enough to be a starter in MLS teams, but right now he's obviously playing second fiddle to two new signings that SKC have made in Johnny Russell and Croiset.
Well, it also speaks to maybe an element of depth that Sporting did not have a year ago.
Yeah, we spoke with Peter, didn't we, a couple of days ago. Peter Vermees, head coach of Sporting Kansas City, and he said that fans will be surprised at players who don't even get suited on a match day, players who don't even make the 18. I think that is the one real positive for SKC this season. Their real strength in depth. Go down to 22, 24 players, I would imagine, all very capable of playing 10, 20 games in MLS in a season.
Well, certainly it is an MLS season that is a grind, with all of the miles that you log and travel, some of the brutal weather conditions that you will face, from freezing cold to stiflingly hot. And
it's exactly that. It's not the number of games, is it? It's the travel and, as you say, the different climates as well.
Oh, Espinoza was trying to get it through to Diego Rubio, and they just missed on the connection.
I think Espinoza's absolutely livid with Rubio there. He thinks that Rubio should have anticipated that pass. Rogers saying to Rubio, put it into his path. He had to make the run. He wasn't. He was on his heels.
Armenteros, how good has he been today? Now to Polo.
Yeah, and I think I did Armenteros a little bit of a disservice saying he's just a goal scorer. He works very hard as well, as we see him tracking back there to chase down Daniel Shallowy. As I say, he always gives his teammates the option. He shows up, but not only that, he works very hard, and we already know what a clinical goal scorer he is. I think Portland Timbers fans have got to be very happy with that signing.
Espinoza ran out of options there, gave it away as 30 seconds remain before possibly some stoppage time, with the Timbers leading at 3-2. The final match of the Mobile Mini Sun Cup is coming up here in moments. We got a man down for the Timbers on the other side. I believe that's Paredes. Nope. Let's see. Oh, it's Guzman who is the man down for the Timbers. There was not scheduled to be any stoppage time, I believe, but now we're past 90 minutes. The final match of this Mobile Mini Sun Cup is coming up here momentarily, which will feature the Houston Dynamo and the New England Revolution. Well, now there's going to be, we were told, 4 minutes of stoppage time, and maybe more, depending on how long this treatment for Guzman takes.
There's one of the players out there that have played the full 90 minutes. 90 minutes and 40 seconds so far, just feeling the back of his calf. Just wonder whether it's a little bit of cramp maybe.
The Timbers bench is completely empty, but I do believe there's somebody ready to check in for Guzman at the halfway line. There we go. Andres Flores will be the man to come in for David Guzman as he checks in with his head coach Giovanni Savarese. Long ball sent for Jerso. Can't quite get there in front of Gleason. Sinovic heads it out. And the ball goes bouncing all the way through the far side parking lot. Sinovic now takes it back, but a foul called against Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, I think right now with a couple of minutes left, both head coaches just want the game to finish. Get both sets of players off the pitch healthy, don't want any more muscle pulls. We've already seen a couple of injuries in the game so far. Kyrie Shelton, obviously, for Sporting Kansas City, and Vitas, just 20 minutes or so ago, who pulled that hamstring.
Well, certainly a tale of two halves. Sporting Kansas City thoroughly dominant in the first half. They took a 1-0 lead into the locker room, but the Portland Timbers came out much more aggressive in the second half, and a couple of substitutions, in particular the insertion of Samuel Armenteros, really changed the feeling of this match, and the Timbers outscoring Sporting Kansas City 3-1 in the second half.
Yeah, as a head coach, you make substitutions to make an impact, and the two substitutions, Armenteros and Paredes, certainly have done that in the second half for Portland Timbers. Slight change in formation has helped as well, but the 3 goals between Paredes and Armenteros have obviously won Portland Timbers this game, or certainly looks as though it's won Portland Timbers the game.
Just a matter of seconds remaining now. And here's an opportunity for Valentin to come down the right-hand side. High toward the goal mouth it goes. Tim Melia fumbled it for a moment, but is able to hold on to it. Maybe time enough for one last push forward for Sporting Kansas City. Roger Espinoza gives it away.
He looks tired, Roger Espinoza. Another player who's played the 94 minutes of time so far. Certainly looks a little weary-legged in the middle of the park.
Tyrone Espria. Jimmy Madrano with a good sliding tackle. Espria tracking back for it. Jidic rising high to win the header. Time went right through the back of a Portland Timber.
Yeah, but well played from the referee. Keep the game flowing. It's advantage Portland Timbers.
Espinoza got a hand into Paredes that time, who went to ground, but the referee unimpressed. As Sporting Kansas City push forward again. We're into the 95th minute right now. Man still down, Paredes for the Timbers. And the referee is going to stop play. That is the referee's prerogative if he believes it's a serious injury, and it is his obligation if he believes it's a head injury. We take another look here. Espinoza trying to shield a couple of men off, and I think this is a bit of play acting from Paredes. That's a hand up into the chest of Paredes for a second.
Yeah, he may have just got caught by a stray elbow of Roger Espinoza, but certainly he'll be fine.
To be honest, with the second look, it didn't even look like the elbow. Maybe a bit of a bare hand to the chest, and Paredes does look like he is perfectly fine.
Certainly hasn't lacked excitement, Nate, this second half. It's been full of goals. But certainly
dropped the ball, and Armenteros is going to keep the ball, which is interesting, and now there's the final whistle. So there you go. The preseason comes to a close with the Portland Timbers knocking off Sporting Kansas City by a score of 3-2. But from this moment forward, and we're going to see some players maybe take a little exception to the way that game concluded, but from this moment forward, Matt Lawrence, these results become completely irrelevant. It's all about what happens going forward for both of these teams starting on Sunday. As we look back at some of the highlights to close out this one, Diego Rubio got a goal to make it 2-0, Sporting Kansas City, and it looked like SKC were going to cruise to victory at that point, but the Portland Timbers were able to rattle off 3 goals the rest of the way, and that man Armenteros was the difference maker, tucking that one neatly inside the far post.
Yes, it was a good finish from Armenteros, but it's also down to SKC being masters of their own downfall. Poor giveaway by Christian Lobato in the defensive third of the pitch. And Armenteros, as we know, is a goal scorer. Just look here. A poacher, poaching in that 6-yard box. Another clinical finish from Armenteros. That's what he's all about.
And then he was also involved here. Possibly a call for offside. It was checked by VAR. They did not decide to review it. And on the rebound, Paredes put it away, and that turned out to be the match winner as the Timbers take the 3-2 victory in this final game here in Tucson, Arizona. So for Matt Lawrence and for Carter Augustine and for the Portland Timbers play-by-play crew that took you through the first half, Jake Zivin and Ross Smith, this is Nate Bukaty saying thanks for watching from Tucson, Arizona.